Hi, Master Sio. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Always good to hear from you, Yoga.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. I know that everyone that watches this video is going to be so excited to get to actually meet you because I've been talking about you for years all over social media. I've told so many people about you, and I know that all the people that I've referred to you in one way or another, they come back to me and they thank me so much for introducing them to you and your work.
I want to thank you for referring them and for being in my life. I really appreciate that.
Ah, this is so great. And so, one of the things that I love about getting to know you when I was getting to know you was hearing your story because you really lived much of kind of what we would call a normal life. You were in real estate, you were a writer, you had this really rich, beautiful life. And then somehow you transitioned into what you do now. You're a full time master, kahuna, and medical qigong master, helping people around the world heal naturally. So, can you talk a little bit about that transition and how you went from one to the other?
Yeah, I have to tell you that I can be quite obstinate at times, or a lot of times, in heeding the call of the divine. For instance, for decades, I was able to help people, and it never occurred to me that this could be a calling.
Hmm.
Uh, some of my more advanced colleagues realized this early on. For me, it took decades, and I would do some things that might be called wondrous uh, in healing people. And it just didn't click to me that I could, with such extraordinary results, I could have started devoting my time or more of my time and even at that point some many years ago I could have just gone into it full time and be able to help more people and receive some gifts at the same time, but it took me a very long time with things, multiple things happening before I allowed my IQ to decide this might be a path for you to follow. It's not a path of like a commercial success, but being able to actually help people and see tangible results, and somehow, whether you wish to make it happen this way, the universe will take care of your needs. That makes sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like probably so many of us can really relate to that because I feel that there's so many of us that get the call, we don't really answer for whatever reason, right away until sometimes many years later. So, yeah, it sounds like you've always had this gift, but it just took whatever it took to get you to fully step into it.
Right. It actually it occurred. The first thing that happened was when I was about 8 or 9 years old. We were playing with a bunch of other kids, and one of them fell and twisted his ankle. And I recall just uh, touching it, and after a while, he says, "Whoa, we are kids, okay?" So we didn't draw any like huge conclusions from it.
Mm.
The kid got up and started running around instead of limping. He fell to the ground. But like most of us, sometimes we get lost on the path. Even though the path is straight, we, as human beings, kind of deviate until we run into so many obstacles, we are led back to the path and somehow it opens up. So
Mm.
if we fast forward from that, I became like anybody else. Maybe 40 years later,
Mm.
I was dancing salsa, by the way, with a
Nice.
friend of
I know
mine.
you're a great dancer. I know that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But at best, I'm actually quite mediocre, but I hack away at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here I was at the Hilton,
Yeah.
and my friend from Peru and I went salsa dancing.
Mm.
And in the middle of one song, he just collapsed on the ground
Wow.
and on the dance floor. And I picked him up and walked him outside. And there's this, this happened on the big island of Hawaii.
Mm.
Behind the hotel is a little pathway.
Mm.
And I took him out there and we were sitting on a bench
Mm.
waiting to see what would happen. And he said the pain was excruciating. And
Mm.
so we sat there and I had a flashback to when I was young, uh, when I helped my friend at 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Maybe I can help you. And he looked at me and kind of with this smirk. And he says, how are you going to help me? And I said, uh, just let me put my hand over your knee.
Mm.
And he says, oh, okay, okay, if you insist. So I did.
Yeah.
And within maybe 2 minutes, extraordinary expression came over his face. He was beaming and he started moving his leg back and forth.
Wow.
Meanwhile, we had gathered a small crowd that was curious, a bunch of tourists. Okay.
Mm.
Then my friend got up and says, I don't know what you did, but I feel good. Then he started squatting and jump up and down and he would make salsa moves. And he says, let's go back in.
He was
And
ready.
right, he's ready. So meanwhile, the crowd began to disperse, but two people remained, and it was a mother and daughter from Germany.
Oh wow.
And they said, we've been watching you. Do you know anyone who does this? Well, we're looking. I said, why do you ask? He says, we're looking for a kahuna.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I said, you mean you travel all the way from Germany to here in Hawaii and you don't even know one? They said, we took this trip on faith. We're going to run into a kahuna. And I
Wow.
said, I happen to be a kahuna. And so these extraordinary things started to happen in my life.
Yeah.
So they hired me to go to their hotel. And at this point, I decided I'm sure the divine doesn't mind if I make a few dollars in return for helping people.
Yeah.
And I just asked for a donation. And they gave me a large donation. I helped them. The young lady, the daughter,
Yeah.
had a pronounced limp.
Oh wow.
And the very first night, the mom was sitting on a chair in their hotel room. I
Mm.
was working on the daughter. I was walking around their bed and sending her energy.
Mhm.
And she got up and she walked almost normal. I would say
Wow.
probably 80% correction.
Wow.
However, she said, I don't feel any different. As she walked up and down the hotel room. And the
Yeah.
mom says, look, I am your daughter. And I know when you walk normal, and
Yeah.
I can tell you, you're almost normal. You never walked this well before.
Wow.
So sometimes when you do things, people's minds are set that they're still their old self. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
So that's how it began. And then more and more people, they told a bunch of people in Germany about me. I started getting calls from Germany for healing online. And I found out more and more that energy can be transmitted without even the sound of voice or actual physical touching.
Yeah.
You can transmit it just like Nikola Tesla discovered and Einstein. They all knew, these brilliant scientists,
Yeah.
Max Planck, they all knew that energy never dies.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
This is
So
beautiful.
so that's how I transitioned. Then this man came from Beverly Hills. He was a very prominent physician,
Mm.
and he saw me on the beach one day and I worked on him,
Mm.
and he hired me to come to Beverly Hills
Ah,
and work at his
was that
clinic.
your first trip? Was that going to be your first trip to LA?
No, I'd been to LA
I've been to
several
LA.
times
Okay.
before, but as a working trip, the answer would be yes. I
Uh-huh.
actually came to California with a job already in place.
Beautiful. Yeah. So you went to LA and worked with him, and then everything kind of just kept going from there.
Then it just kept growing, and I recall uh, that I used to teach or hold classes where I would do group healings, and you came into one of them,
Yes, I
and
love
yeah,
the group healings. I love them.
mhm.
Yeah.
And from then on, for the benefit of our listeners, I recall you were driving on the freeway, I think, heading north on I-5 or 405,
Yep.
and I don't recall what it was, but maybe you can tell the story. You pulled
Yeah.
off the freeway.
Absolutely. I remember I wasn't feeling well. All of a sudden, I wasn't feeling well. I was really out of it, and I felt like I was going to come down with something. And I called you and asked you if you could send me the healing frequencies. And yep, you had me pull over the car on the side of the road, and I pulled over. I put my seat back. You sent through the frequencies. We were maybe on the phone for 5 or 10 minutes, not more than that. And I hung up the phone with you, and I laid in my car for about 20 minutes. And within 20 minutes, I totally felt better. I was like back to normal, never got sick. And that feeling, whatever that feeling was, went away. And yeah, I remember also 20 years ago, I had a drug overdose. That's what actually put me on the healing journey and the healing path. And you were one of the first healers that I saw after my drug overdose. And I went, and that was the first time I knew intuitively not to go the medical route, not to go to doctors or take any medications. And then a friend of mine named Carla Zamudio told me about you. You helped her heal from very extreme heat exhaustion that she was having. So I went to you based on her recommendation. And that was the first time I had ever experienced this beautiful kahuna, you know, energy healing that you do. And my whole world pretty much changed that day because it was like I realized this thing that I always thought might have existed actually existed. And yeah, and it's just really confirming also that our bodies do most of the healing, because you always say that you're helping us to heal ourselves, that it's really our body that's doing the healing, and that the frequency that you put out is so calming, it just allows the body to calm down enough to actually do what it does naturally and heal itself. Do you think there's anything more to it than that, or is that kind of the basics of what's happening when you're doing your sessions and you're exchanging with someone, a client?
That is exactly what happens. I just reconnect you with who you really are.
Wow. Wow.
I studied uh, medical qigong, which
Mm,
originated in China, so I knew how to transmit healing frequencies several thousand miles away if I wanted to.
wow.
Uh, but they never really described what happens. Now my work involves kind of a mixture of medical qigong, which came I learned from the Chinese,
Mm,
and what I learned from the Kahuna or Hawaiian priests on the Big Island of Hawaii, and that is that everything is love.
aw,
This
love
is
that.
why Hawaii is known as the aloha state or the love state.
Wow.
And I kind of mix these two concepts together. So, what happens, yoga, is if you can just accept the word God
Mm,
as the supreme consciousness or the energy or the universal mind, or perhaps just some kind of entity out there that nobody has been able to describe perfectly, but
mm,
they all agree it is some kind of energy, whether it's embodied in a tree or a human looking person or just invisible energy. It is let's say we just use the term God.
Yeah.
with respect to those who call this energy Allah or Buddha or Jesus, all of these things mean the same thing.
Mm,
So what happens is when you're born,
mm.
there's a particle of this energy of God, the God particle
Wow.
is inside your heart.
So beautiful. Mm.
You're born with it. And when you open it, it's like a funnel.
Ooh.
Love will come right into it and it expands you in all kinds of directions.
Mm.
And so you basically self heal.
Ah.
Um, you have to be somewhat open. Interestingly, some people try to make it healing a very difficult concept when it
Yes.
really is simple. There are in my work there are no rituals, there are no chanting things or mudras or even om. Even though I love the word om, and I'll expound on that in a moment.
Yeah.
All I do is basically tell you yoga. Inside your heart is this huge love generator that can connect you to everything the divine has for you.
Mm.
And we are inseparable. We cannot escape. Just like you cannot escape yourself. You try to run away, drown yourself in liquor or whatever. Wherever you go, there you are. And so this love particle in your heart, you can't escape it. Even if you start hating people, it's still there.
Yeah.
And to bring it to my own case, even if when I ignore it, its message that you should spend a lot of time helping people to heal.
Mm.
I ignored it until one day it finally dawned on me. Okay, I this is my calling. I'm so sorry it took me such a long time. Thank you for the many, many, many reminders that I should take this path.
Yeah.
That
Beautiful.
makes sense.
That makes so much sense. The love frequency. Yeah, it's interesting because even in my own moments of quiet, when I try to think to myself, well, what do I actually do? What is it actually? And the only thing I can that really comes to me is that when I'm in someone's presence and my heart just fully opens, that's the healing frequency coming through, and it just helps people do whatever they need to do in that loving frequency. And I guess it's that simple, So it is interesting that we kind of make it more complicated than it is.
That's true. But
And
this comes down
yeah.
to having faith in yourself.
Mm.
And one of the most profound uh, things that we can help to move along in order to help ourselves is to be grateful.
Mm.
And so, like yesterday, I was doing a group healing in this church, and I told them to just feel that your heart is open and be grateful. So we spent many minutes saying things like, "Thank you for my existence. Thank you for my heart. Thank you for my body. I'm grateful that I can have fresh vegetables. Thank you for the ocean. Thank you for the seaweed from the ocean.
Aw.
Thank you for my healthy digestive system."
Mhm.
See, the divine loves it when you say, "Thank you for this. Thank you for that." It's like if you had a child and your child says, "Mom, thank you for that ice cream, was very nice. Thank you for the nice apple." You feel like you're almost crying
Yeah.
that someone shows gratitude. And so you give them more apples.
Mm.
Okay, so
So beautiful.
God or the ultimate superconscious helps us in this way. When we thank uh, this entity or energy for the breath that we take. Thank you for the birds singing. Thank you for the leaves and the trees. Thank you for the wildflowers.
Mm.
These simple things we sometimes forget.
Yeah, this is so gorgeous. I love that. It's that's amazing. And so, for people, I see a lot of people that are kind of stuck with various things, whether they're in the medical industry and they're not getting the results they want, or there's an emotional thing happening or whatever, and they want to try natural healing, but sometimes I think they're afraid, or they think it's not going to work, or they just haven't done it, so they haven't had their own firsthand experience yet. And so I don't know what can you say anything to that? People that
Yes,
try, yeah.
the Dalai Lama and other sages have always said that control or expecting a specific result is the cause of misery.
Oh, yeah.
And I try to
Expectations. Yeah.
remind people that the divine knows everything. And whenever I do a healing or other healers perform a healing, the recipient always 100% receives some form of benefit.
Mm,
Okay. And sometimes the recipient is kind of ungrateful as hell. Okay. They, it's like you want to go to the beach and you get up, you're hoping for a cloudless, sunny, hot day. You get up, it's overcast, a few drizzles, and you start cussing God. Say,
yeah.
oh hell, I was going to the beach. Now look, it's cloudy and it's even drizzling. Give me a break. Okay, the beach is still there. You have to adjust your attitude. It's the same thing with healing.
Mm,
Some people actually come to my healing classes or private sessions, and they have this set expectation.
mm,
I'm here for, let us say, my backache,
mm.
and they focus only on the backache. Meanwhile, they have 5 or 6 migraine attacks daily. But if they don't feel improvement in their backache, they think the whole thing was a waste. Meanwhile, all the migraines went away. They don't recognize that. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's this is a question of being willing to kill your ego and be open to someone or some energy that knows exactly what you need at this precise moment. It's not like going to a restaurant. Okay, I want this item, I want this item. That would be like a child, 5-year-old child, asking his mom how to drive on the freeway.
Mhm.
It's not possible. You don't tell God or the superconscious how to fix you.
Yes.
Basically, you're saying, I need your help. I surrender.
Yeah.
See?
The trust.
Because
Seems like
you
trust is
have to,
big. Yeah.
absolutely. We all have a tendency to prioritize what we need. We need this, and then this, and then this, and then this. When the divine can see that you need three first instead of your first desire, and then
Mhm.
you might need 10 before we go back to one. But many of us, this is not blaming us. This is just a learning lesson for everyone.
Yeah.
We're all here to learn. The basic
Yeah.
uh, common bond in healing is love. If you love yourself unconditionally, you will be able to say without hesitation, my heart is open, I surrender, give me what I need in your judgment.
Mm,
Or I'm open to whatever you give me. That's it.
and that's it. Do you
It's
feel
that simple.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. And do you feel like it's also so that love is that common thread, as you said, and then do you feel like it's also your connection to this higher intelligence that's able to reconnect people to their higher intelligence when they're in your field or in your presence or receiving your remote energy being sent to them?
Yes. You see, all of us are born with equal amounts of healing power.
Mm,
Some of us learn sooner than others
Mm,
to open the door and to suppress our ego and allow love to come through.
mm,
Some of us absolutely close it and say, nope, I want what I want. And so by having that kind of attitude of letting your mind uh, think that it's the most powerful healing mechanism that you have,
right.
it defeats the purpose of allowing the God particle which resides in your heart to open, because your mind shuts it down.
Mm,
So the ego is like a tire of a car. If
mm,
you overinflate your ego, it'll burst and hit you in the face and destroy you. So the idea is really runs against the human tendency of thinking that we must control everything.
wow,
It's
I
not
love
possible.
that. The way you just explained that, I've never heard it explained that way, and I think I just had a major realization for the first time. Because yeah, if the ego's like a tire, overinflating it is not good, but also letting it go too low, and then you can't drive properly. So it has to be that perfect middle point.
Exactly,
Mm,
exactly.
where it's healthy.
So it's this runs against our ego or the desire of the flesh. The energy, the divine, actually built us this way
Mm,
so that it's a learning process. So we learn that our body is not the governing factor, it's something invisible and sacred. And that thing resides inside your heart. Your heart happens to have many thousands of times more powerful electromagnetic field than your brain. I think Einstein referred to uh, our society
mm,
worshiping the thinking brain instead of your inherent, let us say, higher consciousness.
yes.
So we run after the glitzy things that appear, the little shiny objects, instead of something that is invisible.
So amazing.
When you are in the proper frame of mind, like this group healing I did yesterday,
Yeah.
all sorts of extraordinary things happen. This happens every time or most times that I do this group healing.
Oh, yes. And then just to let people know, so Master Sio every Sunday, you can find him if you're in Los Angeles. You're at where's the location of the church?
Yes, the church is called the Church of Truth, and it's located in Pasadena.
Perfect. Church of Truth in Pasadena.
Yes, it has actually a very colorful history, and that notables like Paramahansa and Yogananda actually spoke there at the same stage where I do my healing work every Sunday.
So
And one of the things that happens in my group session, I'm sure you experience this yourself, Yoga. People start to see extraordinary things when I release my chi. I actually ramp it up, and it embraces everyone.
mm,
They begin to have extraordinary experiences, not unlike what you experience yourself.
yep.
Uh, Lately, they have seen me, this is according to many of them, levitating. I don't
Yep.
wish to levitate. And whether I actually did or not, they tell me that I levitated. In my healing class in West LA on Saturdays, I have personally seen one of my students levitate like 3 feet off the ground, and she didn't even know it. But several students saw her levitating, just sitting cross-legged and just rising up and hovering there for a while, and then gently come back down. They're not even aware that they did it. In my case, I didn't even know it until the people there described it to me afterward. So
I've
this is what
definitely
happened.
experienced things like that in your classes. It's amazing. And I think it is because what you're talking about, your frequency, as soon as I'm in your frequency, my mind shuts off in the best way. Like I have no thoughts. I'm just completely peaceful and I connect into this other space. I know that my body starts healing, my emotions are calm. Any little thing I might have been thinking about that might have been like buzzing me, all of a sudden is completely gone. And I think because of the lightness of the experience and the harmony, it's like it's just this very light feeling.
Absolutely. See, what happens is we try because we can't help it. I don't want to denigrate the fact that we have this ego. The ego can be very valuable. It helps us run away from danger and help us to plan things that are beneficial, but it can get in the way. And some people, they find it very difficult to let go of their limiting beliefs. I once did a group session at a place called the ashram. It's kind of a uh, ashram, not like the typical ashrams in India. This was a very, say, upscale sort of ashram where people pay like $1,000 a day to eat rabbit food and to climb hills.
Yeah.
One of the hills Oprah Winfrey named Heartbreak Hill. Because you have to climb up, and these leaders of the hike really drive you up there like a sheep or something. And a lot of people kind of don't like being made, especially celebrities. I met so many celebrities there, and they're very resistant to being made to work more than just stare at a camera and look pretty and make thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
They overcome their resistance and they go there several times. Myself, I'm not in an income bracket where I can pay $1,000 a day to eat rabbit food and have a massage. But
Yeah.
these people can afford to do it. And I did a lot of healing work with them.
Yeah.
I'm getting to this one man who kind of denigrated what I was doing.
Hmm.
Had dinner with all these celebrities, and out of maybe 21 or 22, he was from Italy. I remember his name was Pietro, I think.
Hmm.
He kept saying, "Oh, I don't believe in this kind of baloney, and I'm not going to go to the healing session. I'm just going to go to bed. That's better for me." And I said, "I'm not here to convince you. I wish you a very nice rest." So the rest of the people and I went up to this big dome. It's called a yoga dome, and I was doing the healing. Just as I started to, the door opens and it's Pietro. I said, "I thought you went to bed."
Yeah.
"Yeah, I wanted to go to bed, but then I was curious, so I'm just coming here to prove that I'm right." I said, "Okay." So he came in and laid down. This guy happened to be, to put it honestly, kind of a fat guy. Okay,
Okay.
belly and kind of almost morbidly obese.
Oh wow.
And he came in and he lay down and he still said the same thing. "I still don't believe this."
Yeah.
And when we started, he was just kind of knocked dead like that. He just lay down and then he started snoring. And I looked at him and then he started doing sit-ups. This is a very heavy set guy. You'd never think that he could do one sit-up, but
Yeah.
extraordinary things happen when the sacred energy is there. So he began to do sit-ups, then he lay down and resumed snoring. At the end of our session, he
Wow.
said, "I still don't believe this. I was just curious." And I said, "Well, Pietro, that's okay. To each his own. I bless you for coming and joining us."
Yeah.
So at the end, everybody took off and he stayed behind. He says, "You know what? I might be feeling a little bit." I said, "Oh, okay. That's better than zero." And so off he went. And I thought, okay, c'est la vie. 3 weeks later, I
Yeah.
got my office, I got a postcard from Italy. It was
Wow.
and he says, I apologize for running your work down. I have been having the most extraordinary experiences. I feel like I'm 22 years old. I
Wow.
started losing weight.
Yeah.
And, and then he says, so I apologize. I'm sorry. And I hope to see you again.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So I said, that's beautiful. And as I was reading this, and so I took the postcard,
Yeah.
and I have too many of them,
Mm.
and I threw the envelope towards my trash basket,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, $600 in $100 bills fell out of the envelope.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh my gosh.
This is just a token of my appreciation for what I received. See,
Incredible. Oh
a
my goodness.
a postscript to this would be that sometimes people don't really realize the healing. It's not always dramatic immediately. Sometimes it takes days or even a week before you see the fullness of the experience of the healing.
Yeah. I know. I feel like, consistently showing up in a healing space, whether it's with different healers or with one healer, I think the consistency really helps to just have it, even if it's like once a month. There's people find something that they enjoy and just at least once a month go, um, and do that. It feels like it's worth it. It's worth it to find something that resonates and be in that space consistently.
Yeah, yes. It's like eating, okay? It grows in increments. You cannot have just one great, gorgeous meal and expect to live 60 years without another meal.
Yeah.
You're going to need another meal maybe in a few hours. And healing is likewise very similar.
Yeah.
You have to kind of top it up every now and then.
Mm, yeah, that makes sense. Well, this is really beautiful. And so I really feel like, do you also notice that there are more people gravitating towards what we do today than, say, 10 years ago?
Yes, absolutely.
What do you attribute that to?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that
Um,
question.
what do you attribute that to? What this all of a sudden this like influx of interest?
Yes. Uh, Most of the world since the beginning of time
Mm,
consists of people who are slow learners, like
mm.
myself. It takes a lot of hurt before some of us will admit that there is a force superior to us, and this force is not in the form of a railroad car or a United Airlines aircraft or a tank or a Mercedes Benz.
Yeah.
It is an invisible force. I think Tesla said something like almost all disease originates in the spirit,
Mm,
meaning it's invisible.
yeah.
And therefore, the solution to almost all diseases is in the spirit.
Mm,
So we are dealing here with a spiritual energy. It's
mhm.
not magic, it's something that we all have access to. And we should, because of the way we're built to seek satisfaction or happiness outside of ourselves.
Mm,
This is why we chase money all the time and glitzy things, when instead, if we focus inwards, the glitzy things that we need, not what we necessarily want, the things that we need will flow into us. And this inflow of abundance is based primarily on love.
mm.
If you love yourself, yoga, unconditionally, take myself. I have learned to love myself, warts and all. I don't have any hair left, but I still love myself. I drive an old car, a but I still love myself. I say daily, thank you for my old car. Thank you for having someone steal all four tires a while ago to teach me that my happiness is not based on my car. I actually, when my tires were stolen from
Yeah.
outside my home,
Wow.
I actually celebrated. I thought it was my car looked kind of funny. I thought this is worse than a low riding car of the gangsters. This one is actually on the ground, and I have a picture of it, and I'm going to put one up on the wall to remind me that my life doesn't revolve around missing tires.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
It was a
really,
very valuable lesson for me that I was
this
still
is so
happy. I was able to laugh it off.
yeah. And
And
keep
I
going.
actually, some days I don't even drive my car. Sometimes for a week, I haven't even touched it.
Yeah.
And so the tires to go missing is not a big deal. I thought it was one of the most funny experiences that I've ever had. It looked ridiculous being on the ground.
So that's hilarious. This is one of the things I love about you so much is your sense of humor. You've just taught me to like take life with a grain of salt, keep laughing, keep smiling. You know, everything is like everything's there for us. Nothing is missing, you know.
Right.
It's just
I would like to share with your uh, viewers that I'm a very ordinary guy, rather boring in many respects, but I'm still happy. I'm happy that I'm breathing. Every day, I'm thankful that I have good things to eat. I'm thankful that sometimes I break my dietary rules and I'm still alive. Sometimes I get depressed, but I'm still alive. So I say to the divine, thank you for my lungs. Thank you for the air that I breathe. Thank you for the fishes in the ocean. Thank you for the seaweeds that I eat. I try and always maintain a spirit of gratitude. I'm even grateful for the times that I'm depressed because it teaches me that I don't always have to be depressed, that I can choose to feel my depression deeply and suffer. And then I say, okay, I release this. I don't need it anymore. I can be back to happy.
yes. Oh, this is so beautiful. And so I really want to encourage everybody to experience your sessions. And so I just think it's so we are so lucky that you offer sessions, that you're available, and these healing sessions. So all of your information is here on the screen. It's also in the description of the video. And so I know your website is mastersio
.com.
.com. And
I,
then yeah.
I want to point out that I have enjoyed your. I realize that you have a project of uploading videos of your own spiritual journey every single day. I think you said somewhere.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you one other funny thing. And then, like you, I have many videos on YouTube,
Yeah.
and they're healing videos. And I'm very grateful that it helps thousands of people worldwide. But in another aspect, it means that I'm not a very good businessman, in the sense that some people with major chronic conditions and like migraines, they would just watch one of my videos and it goes away, and they don't even need to call me and cost them money to come and see me. so, so it has that aspect that it just solves their problem and they don't need to pay me money to come and see me.
Yeah,
So
I know. I watch your video all the time. I always watch your video because it's so great. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing that these frequencies come right through the video.
So I'm going to send you a message that I sent to a little boy.
Yeah.
Mom wrote to me, and he's a little high strung, I think. And Mom wrote me that he watches one particular video. I think it's called positive affirmations, and
Nice.
it has helped him. He insists on watching it daily, every single.
Amazing. Okay, good. Positive affirmations on your YouTube channel.
I wanted to say one thing before we wind it
Oh,
up.
yeah, absolutely.
Power of the word Om, or also originally I think it was Aum,
Yeah,
and eventually it became Om, but it's the same thing.
AUM. Yeah.
It's such a powerful sound.
Mm,
Time not long ago, a mom called me frantically from Idaho.
mm,
Her son, I think she was like 11 or 12 months, was not able to stop crying. We just cry nonstop. We would just sleep for a little while, wake up crying.
mm.
And all the pediatric specialists couldn't solve the issue. They said, we just have to live with it. And she called me out of desperation. And I said, okay, put him on the video. And he says, well, he's not able to talk. I said, just put him on the video so I can see him.
Yeah,
And the baby's going, ah, like that.
yeah.
What I did, I just looked at the baby. The baby was not even looking at me, it was facing up.
Wow.
I said, ah. Not more than 10 seconds, the baby stopped crying completely,
Amazing.
and he's been well since.
That's amazing. So it's like the baby just needed to have that be oriented properly. Ah, that was a beautiful story. That was a beautiful story. This is perfect. Thank you, Master Sio.
We're good.
Thank you, Master Sio. Yeah, we're good.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you. Thank you.